The hum of Huntsville never really quiets. Even when the sun sits low behind the trees and the air feels heavy with quiet, the city holds its breath waiting for the next spark, the next hit of drama, the next unexpected twist that sends every timeline and comment section into a wildfire. And this time, the storm came from the one woman who always knows how to shake the room without even raising her voice. Arionne Curry. It started with a single post, just one picture, one caption, one subtle line that seemed harmless at first. But in Huntsville, nothing stays innocent for long. Not when it comes from Arionne. Not when the names Martell Holt and Latisha Scott still linger in her story like shadows that refuse to fade. Fans saw the post, zoomed in, read between the lines, and within minutes, the internet lit up like a match thrown onto dry grass. Because whether she admits it or not, Arionne knows how to hit a nerve. She knows how to deliver a message that doesn't need to call anyone out by name to make the intended target feel it. And this time, her shade landed right on Martell and Latisha, two people tied to her past in ways she never fully escaped. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. This wasn't just a random moment of frustration. It wasn't an emotional rant or a late-night impulse. No, this felt calculated. This felt like Arionne choosing to speak without speaking, throwing light on something she believes people have ignored for too long. And once fans pieced it together, the reactions were instant, loud, and divided because Huntsville drama always cuts in different directions. But before we dive deep into the new storm, there's something we have to understand. Arionne's story didn't start with this post, and it won't end with it. Her connection to Martell, the tension with the Scotts, the quiet resentment that keeps resurfacing, it all comes from years of hidden conversations, mistakes that changed families, and decisions that rewrote the future of everyone involved. And somehow she always ends up right back in the center, even when the cameras aren't rolling. To understand this new explosion, you have to rewind years back to when Arionne Curry was just a young woman living her life far from the reality TV spotlight. Back before the world knew her name. Before she became part of a storyline she never signed up for. She didn't grow up thinking she'd be the face of controversy. She wasn't chasing fame, trying to land a role on a show, or searching for attention. She met Martell Holt the way so many complicated stories begin, casually, unexpectedly, during a moment when she didn't know the truth behind the smile he offered her. He was charming, polished, and confident. A man who seemed to understand exactly how to fill the silence with warm words and flattering promises. But what she didn't know was that Martell carried a double life. He had a wife. He had a home. He had children. And he had a reputation he protected with every smooth answer he gave. By the time Arionne learned the full truth, she was already entangled in a situation that would follow her for years. It's easy for the world to judge the other woman, but harder to imagine what it feels like when your emotions collide with reality and every choice suddenly becomes heavier than the last. Arionne was young. She believed things she shouldn't have believed. She trusted a man who was already committed somewhere else. And once those pieces locked together, the path forward grew complicated. Feelings didn't disappear just because the circumstances were wrong. Hearts don't turn off like a light switch. But when the world found out about the affair, when Martell's actions spilled far beyond his personal life and into full-blown television drama, Arionne was pushed into a spotlight she never prepared for. She became a villain overnight. People who never met her built entire opinions around rumors, clips, and social media comments. She wasn't seen as a human being trying to figure out her future. She was a target. A punchline. A character in a story she didn't write. And meanwhile, Martell, the man at the center of it all, shifted between silence, excuses, and moments of vulnerability depending on where the cameras pointed. But Arionne wasn't just fighting the internet. She was navigating tension with the women connected to Martell's world, especially Melody, Martell's former wife. And then, indirectly, Latisha Scott, whose loyalty to her husband Marceau often placed her in the crossfire of rumors and alliances she didn't create but always had to defend. Even though Arionne never had direct conflict with Latisha in the beginning, the energy around them was always charged. The Scotts were close to the Holts. They shared business ties, personal history, and years of complicated loyalty. And whenever drama touched one couple, it rippled through the others. Latisha built her image on stability, marriage, and standing firm against gossip. So when Arionne's involvement with Martell became public, it wasn't just melody affected, it shook the entire Huntsville circle. Arionne eventually found her voice, sometimes in frustration, sometimes in pain, sometimes out of pure exhaustion. She spoke out on social media, shared private details, posted cryptic messages, deleted others, and tried to show her version of events. But every time she said something, the backlash grew stronger. People didn't listen to understand, they listened to react. And as the years passed, Martell moved forward publicly, the Scotts kept building their empire, Melody focused on healing and success, while Arionne stayed in a strange, quiet space between visibility and exclusion. Always talked about, rarely included. Constantly mentioned, but never invited. And that's why this new shady post hit the internet so hard. Because even though she stepped back from the drama, even though she tried to stay in her lane, something pushed her to speak again. Something pushed her to take a shot, and fans immediately knew who she was aiming at. It began with a simple picture. A soft background, a calm pose, nothing loud or flashy. But the caption? That's where the fire started. A few carefully chosen words that held more meaning than the casual tone suggested. Arionne wrote something that, on the surface, looked harmless. But to anyone who followed the history, the tension, the years of messy back and forth, the coded message was loud and clear. It hinted at people pretending to have perfect lives. People putting on a show. People who talk behind the scenes but act innocent in public. People who claim loyalty yet entertain private conversations they shouldn't. The first name that came up was Martell Holt, the man whose decisions both shaped and destroyed her public image. The man whose silence often left her dealing with battles he created. The man she once trusted, loved, fought with, and eventually had a child with. Their history is deep enough that every word she writes is automatically connected to him. But this time, her message seemed bigger than Martell. It felt wider, sharper, targeted at more than one person. The second name fans pointed to was Latisha Scott. And the reason? It wasn't just about the history between the Scotts and the Holts. It wasn't only about years of public tension. It wasn't even about old rumors that still hover, unspoken, around Marceau and the questions viewers never fully let go. It was about timing. It was about context. It was about certain posts. Latisha had recently shared pictures highlighting her marriage, captions emphasizing strength, loyalty, and devotion, and a very clear message: my home is solid. My marriage is real. And nobody can shake that. Fans saw Latisha's posts as responses to whispers she never directly addressed. A declaration that she stood firm against any narrative threatening her family. But Arionne's caption came next, and the internet nearly exploded. Because Arionne's words didn't accuse anyone outright. They didn't say a name. They didn't point fingers. But the tone? The tone hit like a note only certain people were meant to hear. She talked about people living for the internet. She talked about the difference between being loved in public and being tolerated in private. Fans instantly took screenshots. They ran to Twitter. They dragged the conversation to Reddit. They began connecting timelines. And the comment section split into three loud sides. One group said Arionne was talking about Martell, claiming he had once again triggered her with something he said or did behind the scenes. They believed she was tired of old patterns repeating and wanted to expose the double standards she's experienced for years. Another group said she was calling out Latisha, who has recently been presenting a stronger, more vocal stance about her marriage on social media. They believe Arionne felt those posts were indirectly aimed at her, especially considering past rumors involving Marceau that Latisha still fights to shut down. But the third group? They said something completely different. They said Arionne wasn't just firing at Martell. She wasn't just shading Latisha. She was hitting them both at once because their names are tied to the same storylines that dragged her life through public chaos. And here's where the twist comes in. What nobody expected was how quiet Martell stayed. He didn't deny anything. He didn't defend himself. He didn't comment at all. And his silence told a story all its own. Martell has a pattern. Whenever drama involves the Scots, he jumps to defend himself to avoid looking guilty. Whenever rumors circle him, he tries to reclaim the narrative. But when Arionne speaks, he slips into the background like he's afraid the truth might spill. Fans noticed quickly. They began saying that Martell stays silent because Arionne knows real things that could damage people if she ever chose to speak without restraint. But then the internet shifted to Latisha's reaction. Because she didn't stay silent. Not at all. She didn't call out Arionne by name, but she did what Latisha always does: she doubled down on her message. She reposted her earlier pictures. She emphasized her marriage again. She shared small reminders that her home is protected, her love is unshakable, and no outside noise can disturb her peace. Fans saw her response as defensive, as if she knew Arionne's message brushed too close to something she didn't want revisited. Others felt Latisha was simply standing up for herself, refusing to let anyone, especially someone tied to Martell's drama, pull her into a storyline she didn't choose. But here's the thing. Arionne never clarified the post. She never explained who it was for. She never added context. She simply dropped it and walked away, leaving the internet to do what it does best: dig, speculate, and build an entire narrative around her silence. And while the flames were still burning, another layer surfaced. Someone leaked that Martell and Latisha had been spotted filming a scene together recently. Nothing romantic, nothing wild, but fans suggested the timing wasn't coincidence. They believed that whatever conversation Martell and Latisha had during filming might have sparked Arionne's frustration. The idea that Martell could have discussed Arionne, or allowed Latisha to speak on her name during that scene, was enough to send fans into a frenzy. Because if there's anything Arionne hates, it's being talked about by people who never address her directly. This theory gained traction fast. People began saying the SHADY post wasn't about cheating rumors. It wasn't about random gossip. It was about respect. And the truth is that interpretation might be the most accurate one yet. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes: this wasn't shade for entertainment. This was a woman expressing hurt she's been carrying for years. It was frustration wrapped in subtlety, a message shaped by silence, denial, and memories that never fully healed. Arionne's entire public identity has been built around someone else's decisions. She didn't wake up one morning and choose to be the internet's favorite punching bag. She didn't dream of being connected to a marriage falling apart or becoming the symbol of betrayal on a reality TV show she wasn't even cast on. She loved a man who wasn't free. She trusted words that weren't genuine. So when she posts something, even something small, it comes from a place deeper than most people realize. The weight she carries doesn't vanish just because the world moves on. The wounds don't close simply because a storyline ends. She still has to raise a child with a man whose name sparks chaotic conversation every time it's mentioned. She still has to watch Melody rise, Latisha defend her marriage, Martell try to rebuild his image, and the fans cheer for one while mocking the other. Meanwhile, she stays on the sidelines, talked about, dissected, blamed, and dismissed. Her post wasn't just shade. It was emotion. It was history speaking. It was the unfiltered honesty of someone who's been pushed into silence for too long. And beneath the shade, there was a deeper message. I see everything. I hear everything. And I'm tired of being the only one who pays the price. So where does this leave the story? Right now, Huntsville is buzzing louder than ever. Fans are refreshing pages, waiting for anyone to break the silence. Martell is staying quiet. Latisha is standing strong. Melody is minding her business and focusing on her peace. And Arionne? She's holding her ground, refusing to take anything back, refusing to explain, refusing to soften her message. This moment might feel small to some, but to Huntsville? To the fans who've watched every twist of this saga? It's massive. Because it shows something important. Arionne is no longer afraid to speak. For years, she was painted as the villain who should stay silent. The woman who didn't deserve to defend herself. The mistake that should simply disappear. But now? She's stepping into her voice. Not through loud rants. Not through chaos. But through a simple post that carried more truth than an entire season of arguments. And maybe that's why it shook people.